are listening to the I Am Wanus podcast.
What's up, guys? We're trying this again here, trying a little technical setup on my GoPro and recording some audio separately. If you see a microphone on the screen here, I'm doing video here at the crib, at the Wanus crib. Tried to do a little cleanup in my room, put a little wallpaper on a few months back for this type of stuff. Just haven't used it yet, but this is the I Am Wanus podcast. Trying video here if you're able to watch this. If not, it's not going to be that critical. You can just listen if you want, but wanted to talk about a few things. Those of you, I'm going to take off my glasses here because I'm always wearing these things. Try not to wear a hat because I'm always wearing a hat in my socials, but you've been following me on my socials for probably all of 2025, if not longer. You've been hearing me talking about doing a remake of the Mortal song off the 1992 album Lucis. The song is called ENFLESHED. The Word is Alive. As I speak right now, it is currently available on my Bandcamp, wanus.bandcamp.com, and it's also available on Apple and Amazon, the purchase stores, and it will be available on the streaming platforms very soon. And right now it's about mid-August, so by the time this podcast is out, hopefully the song is streaming everywhere. But I wanted to talk about this a little bit. I want to go into a little more detail than what I do on socials, because I know a lot of times people just don't really pay attention more than 10, 20, 30 seconds. And for those of you that like to have background details on some of the stuff I do with Wanus music, that's kind of why I started this podcast. And if you listen to my earlier episode, I think it was episode 10 earlier this year, I think February 2025, I did one kind of talking about what I'm doing to move forward making music. If you want to catch some of those details there, but my newest song is ENFLESHED, as I said, and I wanted to go over some details. And if I forget to mention some links earlier, everything that I do is at iamwanus.com. But the other specific links that are at that link, there's the wanus.bandcamp.com, where you can support me directly there without going through, Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever. But if you want the links to the streaming platforms, you're probably going to see all of them at wanus.herenow.com. Again, all the links that I mentioned are going to be at iamwanus.com. But a couple of things I wanted to mention about this song that means a lot to me going back so many years. I know I probably look like a young guy. Some of you might think that I'm 20, 25. I'm just going to break it to you. I'm really not. I'm an old guy. Back in 1993, beginning of 93, I was 21 years old, just got out of the Navy, flew home January 93. I'd been going to a church previously before the Navy. And when I joined the Navy, I went overseas to Guam. Mentioning all this for a reason, but I come home January 93. I've been listening to a lot of Christian metal bands, the band Striper, Bride, Tourniquet, Deliverance, even King's X. Lots of people, if you're familiar with the Christian metal scene of like 30, 35 years ago, you'll know who I'm talking about. But listen to all these bands, more on the metal side, Petra, which everybody knows of. And I get home from the Navy, and not only did the best thing happen was I met my wife that I'm currently married to, 28, almost 29 years later. And I have this friend named Russell Holbrook, who we always used to talk about Christian metal related things. And he's wearing this jacket at church this one Sunday, or maybe it's like a Wednesday night church thing in the youth group. It says Mortal on the back. Speaking of Mortal, I'm wearing the Mortal. This is the album artwork from the Lucis album. If any of you guys, I was going to try and find my cassette tape, which I know I still have, but I couldn't find it in time. But this is the album artwork. And so Russell has got this name Mortal across the back of this jacket that he's wearing. And so I'm asking him, who's Mortal? He's like, oh, man, you got to check him out. So what do you do in 1993 or the years around that time? You go to the Christian bookstore. You look through the, Christian metal section. If you had a cool Christian bookstore like we had here in Georgia, most of the ones would kind of carry a lot of rock and metal stuff at the Christian bookstore. Probably sounds like a long, time ago, galaxy far, far away type of thing, but this was a very regular thing that people did in that time. So I get this cassette tape, Immortal, with this on the cover, and I start checking it out. I'm listening to it in my car, and the very first track, "ENFLESHED," boom, the song was blowing my mind. And if you don't remember this time period, there was a lot of variety in the Christian music rock scene, but most of it seemed like it was maybe about 5 years behind. Like if you were into Metallica, there wasn't really Christian Metallica stuff when Metallica was out. It kind of took a few years because a lot of that had to do with the industry and bands, kind of catching up with what the current sounds are and whatever. But that's a shout out to Deliverance, because Deliverance was the closest thing to Metallica at that time. But so anyway, I find this Mortal cassette tape. I'm listening to "ENFLESHED," and I'm thinking, man, one of the lyrics that just jumped off the page or off the cassette tape for me was the "spitting in the face of anarchy." That was not something you heard in Christian music, and to me, it was just like a punch to the face of what I would probably call today now as chaos. Chaos in our world, disruption, lack of peace. To me, spitting in the face of anarchy was like, if I was going to make a bumper sticker back in 1993, I probably would have had "spitting in the face of chaos," Jesus rules, or whatever it was that was on my mind at that time period. But the lyrics were so cool. And if you want the gist of what "ENFLESHED" is about, at least in my mind, I mean, the guys in Mortal, Gyro and Jerome, these guys are, extremely creative guys. I love these guys. I'm getting ready to see them next month in September in Nashville. If you're in Nashville, September 21st, I think, 2025, I'm going to be there. Probably be wearing this shirt or something similar. I'd love to meet some of you guys if you care about what I do. So where was I at here? I'm talking about the "spitting in the face of anarchy," the song lyrics. I'm just like, this to me was the closest thing to mixing Christian music and like science fiction and everything worldview that I had ever, been, interested in up to that point in my life. Because to me, it was a bold declaration of, even though that the world's in chaos, there's disruption, there's corruption, there's government corruption, all kinds of these things that are centered around things in our world that just aren't how they're supposed to be. But the chorus is, "And the word is alive, alive is the word, existing inside the mind." And that to me was just a powerful statement of, no matter what goes on in the world, you're not going to hold back God's plans. And that's just the way I understood it. And that's the way I still pretty much understand it. And that's when I did in my 21-year-old brain at the time. And so that's how I was introduced to Mortal. And I was excited. It was, for me, a faith-building thing. And if you're not a Christian and you're listening to this, and you're like going, all I care about is how the music sounds, I don't really care what you believe. Just tell me, about the music. But to me, that was part of my life and part of my formation when I was still young and growing in my faith. That kind of gave my faith teeth, where you could kind of bite into some things about the world that didn't make sense. If God's in control, then why is so many things messed up? This, to me, lyrics like that and other songs on that album, Lucis, which were really great, that deal with a lot of those type of themes that I thought Gyro and Jerome really, brought out in this record. And I want to thank those guys, for having an impact on guys like me, and I'm sure thousands and thousands of other men and women that were a part of that scene at the time. And ironically enough, I never saw those guys live. They probably did come to Georgia. A lot of times, we didn't have social media like they did now. Sometimes they'll come to venues and you just didn't know about it at the time, unless you saw a poster somewhere or somebody told you at a Christian bookstore. But that was just some of the things I wanted to mention about ENFLESHED in the very beginning that really drew me to it. Sorry, I'm looking at my cheat sheet here. And yeah, after I got that cassette tape and was listening to them, one of the things that I almost did when I was recording ENFLESHED was, there's a line in the song, and I'm not going to get political on this podcast, but one of the things that stood out to me, I probably didn't pay attention to it too much when I was younger. And as you get older, we all get, political stuff thrown in our faces all the time. But the line "capitalistic leprosy" started to kind of rub me the wrong way a little bit, just because of when you grow up in your 20s and 30s and 40s and older, you start having certain ideas about how things should be. We're all influenced no matter what side of the aisle you find yourself on. And I was kind of having a problem thinking, am I going to be able to sing this capitalistic leprosy? Because I find myself to be a capitalist person. It's an American thing. I'm for the most part, a American guy supporting what America was founded on, biblical values, and I'll just leave it at that. And I almost changed capitalistic to socialistic. And it was in my mind for the longest time, when I record the song, I'm going to change that because our world's getting more socialistic and less capitalistic. It was just something I had in my mind for a while. And when I got ready to record, I was like, I'm going to have to answer questions about this the rest of my life if I change a lyric. And I think technically when you do cover songs, you're not really supposed to change lyrics. I know there's lots of people that do that kind of thing, or if they're doing spoofs on songs, they're doing it anytime. But the way that I kind of made peace in my mind was, excuse me, capitalistic is not capitalism. This is the way I'm rationalizing. Capitalistic is representing capitalism. So capitalistic leprosy, in my mind, is going to be like a form of capitalism, but it's been manipulated, it's been corrupted. And for me at least, I feel like I'm the kind of person that wants to know the lyrics that are coming out of my mouth. I feel like I'm lyric oriented anyway. I guess by the way I'm talking, that's probably not that surprising. But I don't want to say things in songs that I don't believe in. We're all surrounded with songs, lyrics, whether it's rap or metal or whatever, saying all kinds of things that I want it to, from me, if it's going to come out of my mouth, I want to believe in it. So I just decided to leave the lyrics alone with capitalistic leprosy. And for me, and if Gyro ever sees this, I think he's the one that actually penned the lyrics and does most of the songwriting. I heard a podcast recently, and if I think of what it is, I'll mention it. But Gyro was on this podcast, and what I did not know until decades later, I'm listening to this podcast like in the last year or so, and he's talking about in the 1992 LA riots. I believe they had to do with Rodney King, and evidently there was a shutdown that was going on during that where people were told to stay at home because of the riots that were going on in 1992. And Gyro's talking about the lyrics that he was writing during that time. I thought, wow, what a scenario to be in, to be writing lyrics like that. Of course, that makes perfect sense to me because there's chaos going on outside. There's buildings being smashed, businesses being burned down, or whatever the situation was during those Rodney King riots in LA in 1992, where he was near. So to me, that just put things in a deeper context of, oh, wow, that was going on while you were writing these lyrics. 1992, I was overseas in the Navy the entire year. There was a lot of that stuff I would see on the news, but it never really made sense what was going on because I didn't really know unless I happened to, dig into the news to find out. Old Man Glasses again here. So I talked about the song. The recording process for this was the most detailed that I've ever done personally. This might be a little bit geekier part of the podcast, so sorry if this gets boring, but everything that I did up until ENFLESHED, I had done on GarageBand on an iPad. Because of the work I do, I'm a truck driver pretty much the last 20 years. I don't go out of town. It's just local driving stuff. I'm almost never on a computer, and I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but when you're in the touchscreen world of iPad, iPhone, getting on a computer can be a real pain. Remembering, I've had jobs before where you're actually using a mouse and learning how to do stuff on finding menus and all that kind of, mouse scrolling stuff. That was a skill that I felt like I kind of had to relearn in a way to be going. I'm just using Logic on my Mac computer that I'm looking at right now, and I felt like I needed to make that jump with learning how to make music a little bit more higher quality. So this was kind of my attempt at that. If anybody cares, a lot of the backing loop that starts off in the song of ENFLESHED, I did on this Electron Dig Attack, which is basically, I know it says a drum, what does that thing say? I don't have my glasses. A drum, computer, and sampler. Basically programming those notes one by one. I'm not going to say it's the fastest way. There's probably much smarter, faster ways, but man, it took me a long time tweaking and everything to get those notes in place. But Anyway, Electron, if that impresses you, great. If not, but it allowed me to feel more confident about creating music because I didn't want to do everything just on a computer in a DAW, digital audio workstation, as they're called now. So that was a hump I felt like I had to get over, of making myself learn something that was a little bit more difficult. And I added more stuff to it in Logic, recorded the vocals and everything. And just so you know, there's other versions coming out of ENFLESHED. One is going to be with Lori Peters again, former drummer of Skillet. If you haven't listened to any of my music, Oh My Semper Fi, Lori Peters, formerly of Skillet, plays drums on that song, does an awesome job. And the one of the other versions of ENFLESHED that I'm doing, I wanted to have a little more of a rock feel. I've got a friend who's going to be hopefully recording lead guitar, and I'll announce that after he's actually recorded. But some lead guitar and some live drums to give it more of a live band feel. So that version is going to be released at a later date. And I've also got another engineering friend that's also working on a different version as well. And I like having different versions of the same song. I think that's kind of cool. So I wanted to mention that I'm not a techie person, and you would think that maybe I was, just because of some of the music that I've done so far. It's I get kind of bored just with an acoustic guitar because I'm not I'm not good at as a guitar player. I'd rather be loud, and so there's obviously the music. A lot of the stuff that you hear that I do is not very technical, such as the Semper Fi song where I have my friend Sonny Lawlerstedt playing the lead guitar on. I can come up with the ideas. I'm just not really a lead guitar guy. The other stuff I wanted to mention is, I already mentioned about going to Nashville and the other song versions, but I wanted to just mention those couple of things here on a podcast. Thanks, guys, for listening to the I Am Wanus podcast. I'm trying to think if there's any other details that I wanted to mention about this, but I think I mentioned pretty much everything. ENFLESHED is out pretty much everywhere, and it will be by the time this podcast is out. So whether you just hit shuffle on iHeartRadio, or you're a Spotify guy like me, or you can buy a download, and you can still get a free download at my Bandcamp page, which you do not have to listen to on Bandcamp. I don't know if people are kind of scared by that idea, but you can go there. They email you the download link, and you can upload it to whatever other MP3 platform that you already use. But again, all my links are at iamwanus.com. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for supporting independent guys like me. Just a regular guy working a job, trying to make music, want to glorify God in what I do. And if you want to hit me up on email, my email is info@iamwanus.com. That's info@iamwanus.com. And so I just want to take a few minutes and mention these things about the song, the other stuff that I put out. I just want to do as much as I can. I would love to work towards a full album. That would be awesome. It just takes some time and some money, and when you guys support, and when I say support, and I'm going to tell you a secret here. Actually, I do have one more thing I wanted to mention here. If you think that you're listening to an artist's music, and I'm saying everybody, I'm not just talking about me. If you're listening to an artist's music and you got like a YouTube playlist or even a Spotify playlist or whatever, you're listening, but you're not really supporting. And I'm not saying that in a, hey, you need to do more type way. It's just that when you give back, like I've had a couple of people went to my Bandcamp page and paid a little more than I expected them to for a song. That little extra money really goes a long way. Or if you buy somebody's t-shirt, if you buy their CD, that type of thing, that's really supporting what they do in a tangible way that actually puts gas in the tank that allows them to go tour and come to your city and play. And sometimes, I think we're all just kind of caught up in this, well, I stream their song, that means I'm supporting them. It's great that you do that, but if you really want to support what they do, especially if you are part of the kingdom of God and you're wanting to support people that are doing God's work, people that are touring full time, and they really need more than just a stream, which is a hundredth of a penny every time you listen. So I just want to keep it real with you on that. There's lots of ways to support the artists that you love, follow, distribute. Oh, I know what I was going to say here. and this is something that I've done personally with other artists that I've supported, and felt kind of weird, but to me it made sense, and maybe it'll help somebody else. Okay, say you go to a band show and you think, I really want to support these guys. I'm going to go download their album on iTunes. Let's just say it's $10. And I'm going to go download. I'm going to pay $10 for the album, the download. And then I can go home. I can delete it off my phone. You don't have to keep the download. You might think, why am I going to do that? Okay, they got their $10. It's not like if you delete it off your device that it's taking money away from you. Then go back to Spotify and keep streaming. I'm just telling you, that's like a real way that you can support them. You're going to give a homeless guy $10. Why wouldn't you give somebody who's doing what you really believe in $10 to download an album? And then, like I said, you don't have to keep it on your phone, your computer, or whatever. You can delete it immediately after you bought it, because you're going to go to Spotify or YouTube Music or whatever and stream it anyway. So if that helps somebody, great. If not, no big deal. But I thought I would mention that, because sometimes I think we make it harder than it needs to be. There are simple ways to support people that we appreciate what they do. So thanks so much, guys. All my links again at IamWanus.com. Thank you so much for listening. I want to give a shout out here to a couple of people. Rob over at therockinrevolution.com. It's been playing my music since I did Die Some or Die back in 2020, 2021. The people that play your stuff on these streaming stations is so cool. It's a blessing to me, because I'm a nobody, and I can, email somebody and say, hey, this is a song, would you play it, whatever. And, even if 10 people hear it across the world, hey, that's 10 people I didn't have before. So, because I will tell you, I'm not going to call out anybody names, but there are some streaming Christian radio stations that will not play my music because the name Wanus sounds like anus, and they have a problem with it. I'm just going to leave it at that and not go on a rant. But anything that you can do to help promote music, you can share a playlist, you can post links to your socials. That helps the people that you really care about, no matter what genre of music it is. And whether it's Christian or not, it helps them when you promote it. So hope you guys have a great day. Feel free to reach out to me. Email info@IamWanus.com. Thanks, guys, and have an awesome day. God bless. Bye.